The one thing that we can do as recruiters is especially in the staffing world, is actually have real conversations with real people. And that's why we usually win on the corporate side, right? My recruiters don't have to have 50 recs, 75 recs and just administer a process. They're actually having real conversations with real talent. Then they can go have a conversation with the hiring manager and say, hey, I actually have somebody and here's why they're the best for you. And you don't see that in the corporate side. It's just not happening. So we're still winning because of that.
Welcome to the podcast, where we introduce you to incredible humans who share their journeys with the mission to inspire you to harness your own inner tenacity to drive your life and career forward. And now, your host, Adam Posner.
I can't think of a better way to start day 2 here at Shurm National in Chicago with my man, Tim Sackett. Tim,
Yeah. How's it going?
long overdue.
Yeah, for sure.
Long overdue.
Is this the first time I've been on? Can't remember. Maybe way long ago?
You
Early?
might, I think, I need to double check. Actually, I'm going to check the records, fact check us, everybody.
Right.
I think when I did my pandemic shows, where I did every day, 4 days a week, I did a live show
Okay.
from my den.
Yeah.
And I set up coffee tables and like the camera, and it was very rickety. This is what you do during the
we all did that. Yeah.
So I think I might have, but this is proper. We're here. It's day 2. What did you get into last night?
Oh God.
Let's talk about Chinatown, Chicago for a minute.
Little-
Actually, let's hit the rewind button for a second.
Yeah.
Let's start at the House of Blues.
House of Blues. We had the BFF birthday party for Jen McClure.
Amazing.
Amazing. Like literally a who's who of Shurm people and influencers and.
It was great.
Literally, like also like I've been doing this thing for about 15 years. And so you run into so many people. There was people there that I hadn't seen in 10 years. Like, it's crazy. People came from all over the country just for that party. Yeah.
I saw Chris Bailey. I saw a bunch of folks from the UK. Well, he's hiding out in the Cayman Islands. We don't want to give away too much of what Chris Bailey's doing over there. But this is like my 3rd or 4th proper conference, and I'm seeing this community. I'm seeing this vibe. I'm seeing this energy of real thought leaders and change makers. And it's really kind of cool to see. But you went to Chinatown.
Yeah.
I need to know what happened at karaoke as much as you're open to sharing.
Oh, it's just, it's a lot of HR ladies with too much to drink singing karaoke, bad karaoke. Some of it's good karaoke. There's a couple like really good singers, which is always every karaoke I've ever been to, that kind of carry everybody out. And then everybody else just is a sing-along. So it's, Gangster's Paradise.
Bon Jovi.
And Bon Jovi and... Def Leppard and like all the classics.
Were there any like kind of curveballs? Like that is I was not expecting that for karaoke tonight.
More country. That's so hot right now, right? So a lot of country. So yeah, that was, you don't usually see a lot of that, but unfortunately no ballads. Oh wait, no, we did have.
There's always a ballad.
We did The Shallow. So we had a man and a woman that were good singers that killed it.
All right.
So
they
that was
back
the
and forth.
Only ballad.
Did you sing?
I sang in the group.
So you were in an ensemble.
Because I don't carry on the team.
No. What song was it?
Gangster's Paradise.
Oh, so you did go the Coolio.
Yeah.
You did go the Coolio route. So
Yeah.
let's get into it. I'm thrilled to have Tim back here. Tim is a legend in the space. He's got books. He's been at every event. And if you're in this space, you know him. But if not, Tim, I'm introducing you to somebody.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I'm going to spin it a little different way. I'm a recruiter by trade. So what I say to my candidates, Tim, tell me who you are and what you do best.
Talent acquisition, execution, kind of expert is what I would say I do best. I own my own like recruiting firm and run that.
You're a recruiter.
So I'm a recruiter at heart. I still like have a team. You still like go through the process and the technology. We constantly are testing stuff, which I think adds a little bit more credibility on stage. It adds a little bit more credibility to the
Well, you're a
book.
practitioner.
So yeah, like actually doing it still. So you know the pain, you feel the pain. It's not something like, 15 years ago I had this pain. Yeah,
Right.
but it's the same.
And I just been consulting and writing books for the last 15 years. You're in the trenches.
Yeah, in the trenches.
And
But
tech
also-
recruiting, right? Tech recruiting?
Yeah, tech recruiting. But also, like, I always tell people, like, my recruiters know how to recruit. Like, we do tech recruiting because you know how it is. The clients always want something that's very specific. But like we work with PwC and do accountants, and we do like
Right, so some range.
I probably wouldn't go like healthcare and like RN stuff. I mean, we could.
You stay in your lane though,
Yeah.
because you're experts in that space, and you kind of go a little bit outside the bullseye when you need to.
What usually happens is a client you're working with, like you're doing really good in something, and they're just like, hey, I don't know if you could ever do this, but
I love that.
I need a salesperson or I need a whatever. And you're like, yeah, my people can do it, right? We got it. So.
Well, it's always interesting too, and I've also found a lot of trust is gained when I actually don't know how to do it, and I'm not like, screw it. I'm like, you know what? That's not our specialty. I don't feel like I'd be your best resource, but I always have a partner.
Yeah.
And if I don't have one, I'm going to say, hey, listen, I'll find a partner real quick for that. And I think that builds trust. So let's talk about agency recruiting for a little bit, because I haven't had a chance to do that in the last couple of days. What it's been for me, and I've talked about it. This isn't new to anybody. The last 2 years, because I recruit for marketing, media, ad tech, martech, and our tech, we do a lot more front end kind of stuff.
Yep.
It's been rough. The last couple of years have been rough in my industry. Hundreds of thousands of people in tech have been laid off. And guess what? First people to go are in-house recruiters, and they're not going to really need us. And we see this kind of cycle happens where hopefully they need to bring us back in because, hey, we don't want to bring back a full-time recruiter. How's your last couple of years been?
We actually are up now because we do a lot of contracting stuff. Well, so when the industry, whatever industry you're in, gets a little nervous, they tend to keep contractors on longer instead of converting full time, and they don't hire full time.
We're lower risk.
So lower risk because they're like, hey,
lower overhead.
And they just gives them a lot of flexibility to up and down if they have to.
Correct. They could scale up, scale down.
So we see the average length of contract extending, which is just more revenue for us. So we've actually seen like we're up 25% year over year.
That's great.
And we also do a lot of defense stuff. Turns out there's a lot of war going on. I'm not a like warmonger. So I don't like to talk about it, but like it is just a reality of the world we live in.
You know, it is a reality of the world we're living in. They need recruiters. It's interesting because I dabbled into a little bit of government tech jobs this year. And that was kind of new for me because I needed, if they weren't hiring in my industry, I needed to look a little bit elsewhere of those tangent, where are there other opportunities?
Yeah.
And for me, learning the lingo, learning how to suss out different levels of security clearance.
Oh, yeah.
That was...
Dude,
that was hairy.
So I will tell you, we hire about 500 people a year. A quarter of the people we hire are veterans. And people, I always get asked this, like from like, especially the corporate like client base, is like, how do you hire so many veterans? Because they all want to hire veterans. And I'm like, I actually hired a former veteran tanker, taught him how to recruit. He speaks the language. We had others come in to do the same. I'm like, hire veterans to recruit veterans. They know the language, and we can
acronym. They can just talk acronyms all day long. Acronyms for everything. I love it. I'm actually working.
They trust each other because they've been in the crap together.
Sisters.
They know they won't like. They're not. They always just have more of a trust there.
Yeah, and I've been a longtime supporter of veterans on the podcast. We're recently partnered with a veteran-owned staffing company. We do some work with them, and that's how you pay back. And I'm a big believer in that. That's how you support veterans, folks. You hire them. You employ them, you help them get jobs because they're the lifeblood of this country, man.
And part of it is too, like I remember we have a great story where I had like a battalion chief come in. I'm asking my recruiter guy who's military, former military, what does this actually mean? It means that he had a command of 1,500 people and $1 billion budget. And we had a hiring manager like telling us that I don't think he could lead a supervising manufacturing group of 15 people.
And you're like, bro.
And you're just like, come on, man. Like you have no idea.
This guy is a trained, natural born leader.
It's one of the failures I see in the veteran hiring space is that we continue to try to like give them, like, we want to hire them, but we want to give them jobs that are way under what they're qualified for.
It's so strange.
Yeah.
So why do you think is it such a resistance? It's not such a resistance because I haven't really faced it, but like, why would a hiring manager who's not served? Why are they just being so linear and binary, like with the resumes? Like, no, doesn't have this exact experience that we're looking for.
Yeah, some of this like decades old like paradigm as well. It used to be like people come out of the military where if you tell them what to do and you're very directed with them, they'll do it. And that's old military. Now they come with really so many more people skills and soft skills that they didn't have previously. But a lot of hiring managers still have that old paradigm. Yeah. And they're like, hey, look, I need someone that's going to come in and actually take control. I can't spend all day guiding them. And you're like, that's not what's going on.
That's not what's. They're not like PTSD'd in there. No, these are
for sure.
Right. That's an interesting one. Yeah. So what, from a business perspective though, in the last couple of years, what's been like? I'll frame it this way. What's been keeping you up at night from a business perspective?
Oh. I mean, it's always the same, is that we constantly, especially like we're here, like obviously in this giant expo and you see all this technology, every single day there's a technology that's supposed to disrupt staff. And we hear it. I mean, I've been hearing it for 2 decades. And by the way, I'm a technologist, right? I'm a future, so I love this stuff. And I do believe at some point somebody is going to develop something that's going to say, okay, we're going to disrupt it and it will really work. And so that's what keeps me up. Now, again, I still believe that the one thing that we can do as recruiters is especially in the staffing world, is actually have real conversations with real people.
Right.
And that's why we usually win on the corporate side, right? My recruiters don't have to have 50 recs, 75 recs, and just administer a process. They're actually having real conversations with real talent. Then they can go have a conversation with the hiring manager and say, hey, I actually have somebody, and here's why they're the best for you. And you don't see that on the corporate side. It's just not happening. So we're still winning because of that.
Well,
and I think AI will actually help us do more of that.
Well, great. That's a great transition. I appreciate that. So we're going to talk about the AI elephant in the room. We've been hearing it for a long time. Listen, the internet came in. People were hesitant to it. It disrupted. Cable TV, electricity, right? Like you can go back all through history to that too. But specifically in recruiting, it's interesting. And the way I like to position it is, if you're using AI to make you faster, more efficient as a recruiter, so you could focus more on the human side, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
But use it as a tool and not a crutch.
Yeah.
I think that's when we cross the line with so many companies that look around this conference that are trying to sell it as a replacement. Listen, I've seen some pretty cool tech, and I'd like to hear your take on it, where companies are using AI chatbots for the initial. Listen, if I'm screening a tech candidate, it's very linear. Do you have this skill? Yes. How many years of that? Great. Okay, great. We got to the point of qualifying your skills.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to connect you with Tim. He's a recruiter on it. We talk about your background, your motivations, what you're looking for. We'll talk comp and get there. What are you seeing, the good, the bad, and ugly of TA? And by the way, this rapid conversation is brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts Extra Large Iced Coffee.
Yeah. For me, the one thing I'm not seeing, I don't see it in the content here. I don't see vendors talking about it. We're not telling, hey, we're going to give you all this. We're going to layer in more technology. It's going to keep coming. It's going to keep coming. It's going to make your job more efficient, faster, blah, blah, blah. What do they do then? When they have this extra capacity, what should they be doing? The recruiting leaders and recruiters, they don't really, I mean, we've talked about that for a decade, but like no one's really like come out and just said, hey, here's exactly how this job is going to look in the future and how it's going to change. You don't see anybody talking about that in the content. You don't see any vendors really talking about the future of recruiter job is this. Here's the design for it. As we start to take away some of these tactical things from you, here's now what this looks like. Here's how you actually become the talent advisor.
Right.
Here's actually what here's how you actually go out and know what the best talent in your marketplace is and have them ready on the bench to come to work for you when that job comes open.
That is the interesting part of it.
Yeah.
Right.
So almost like an in-house agency model that should be adaptable and it should be coming in, but it's not happening.
No. I mean, there's a real need for a product. One of the things I get excited about is like the whole idea of a digital twin.
Yeah.
And I think of myself as, how do I scale myself and how do I scale the human side of myself? Listen, there's CRM tools that are out there, but it's still, I'm still the human. I'm still reviewing every resume, every person that applies, everyone I reach out to, it's me.
Yeah.
Because it's quality control.
Yeah.
And I can't have reaching out to a candidate that's not qualified and then it screws up the whole pipipeline. And so we're early innings.
One of the things I do love about some of the AI tools, if you think about traditional recruiter, like let's say on the corporate side, 100 people apply. Recruiter does a quick little scan, bam, bam, bam. I have 10 that I'm going to reach out to. 3 of them, reply back. Yep, bam, bam, bam. I send them out. There was 90 that never even got touched and didn't get a chance. And I think AI is going to give everybody an equal chance, right? To be, at least to be heard initially, to be raised up if they're the right one. So I'm hopeful for that kind of thing where you go, hey, maybe for the first time, you see everybody have an equal chance. You don't necessarily see this black hole that continues.
Correct, and it takes out of the biases too.
Yeah.
But here's another kind of cool spin, and a product that I recently saw, and I forgot which one it was. You have 100 candidates, 10 are qualified. What do you do with those 90? You just built a pipeline utilizing AI to screen what are they good at, and you build affiliate with other companies either within your own organization, and then you can turn that into a rev stream.
Yeah, I've actually seen this done manually.
Yeah. Takes a little bit of work.
Stanley Tool, actually was in a manufacturing park in the city they were in, had like 5 or 6 others, and they actually built like just a simple kind of spreadsheet where everybody would dump their extra candidates into, and they would actually pay $1 if they decided to take one of the candidates to use. And so like, because Stanley had an abundance of candidates, their TA team was making about 50 grand a year from all the other like smaller like manufacturers around them.
Yeah, they
by
were
sharing
they were
like,
pipelining.
extra inventory, right? And that would allow them to go out and pay for the LinkedIn membership, pay for more Indeed, whatever.
No,
it
they're
was,
basically
right?
self-funding their recruiting operation.
Hey everybody, Adam here. Today's podcast is brought to you by the team at Fountain. Fountain is your full-service, frontline workforce management platform. I have to tell you, Fountain's offerings are some of the most robust I've seen from any product in the space. They offer full solutions for recruiting, hiring, and retention. They are truly a one-stop shop focused on the frontline workforce. They also create informative content using their data. For example, they analyze a bunch of data from their fast food clients and create a trend report you can download now on their website. They also have a new ebook out called Frontline Voices. It's a lot to dive into, so certainly check it out. And you can learn more at fountain.com, linked in the show notes. Tell them Adam sent you. Thanks.
So let's pivot for a minute here.
Yeah.
You've written a couple of books. What's next? You writing another book?
I am. I have one.
Let's drop some alpha.
What?
Drop some alpha, man. What are you working on?
This is a concept I've had for like a decade, but it was like I was never the right time to write it. So it's called Bullshit and Khakis, Surviving Corporate America.
I hope we're done with the khaki phase, man.
It's literally all, I mean, it's real talk, it's real stories from the trenches of
Right.
the stupid crap we do, but also just the reality of in today's world, especially when you have remote, hybrid, on-prem, like how do you win? And by the way, I think it's super easy to win in America right now because there's so many soft people.
No. Let's just pause on that for a second. I agree with you. We're gonna get real here for a minute.
Yeah.
I think you win. You and I would not be where we are if we didn't fucking hustle.
Yeah.
If we didn't work our asses off. If we didn't make sacrifices. If we didn't do what we need to do. Now, I'm not saying we need to be hustle bro culture. I'm not saying we work 24/7, but we do what we need to do to get shit done.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have gotten very complacent, especially with this work from home. And you know what? People are like, just because I'm working from home doesn't mean I'm sitting home in my pajamas. I'm like, you know what? A lot of people are. Let's have some real talk.
Yeah.
But there are people working hard, and if
Yeah.
you want to succeed, you have to. There's no substitute for hard work.
Well, we have too many people just showing up, right, and doing the minimum,
Right.
and that's fine if that's what you want to do. But there's also people that want to do more. To me, it's not about remote or hybrid or on-prem. It's about
You get that in
where are you
workplaces.
measurably more successful. I have a woman that was working for me in the office, great recruiter. And when we went remote during COVID, she went through the roof. I mean, she reached a level nobody in our company's
Yeah,
gotten.
she was
And I'm like-
comfortable.
I go, look, if you ever try to come back, I will
Yeah, I'm not
fire
letting you
Like, you can't come in the office. But then I had others that went remote and failed. And we said, hey, come back in the office. And they were like, no. I would prefer to work remotely. I'm like, but you're not working. You're not doing
I
it.
can literally see your numbers.
Yeah.
You know,
we could literally bring them back in the office and immediately they go back up. And you're
some
like,
people are more focused in the office. It's like it's their
is.
arena.
Yes.
Like, for example, my wife, she's an attorney. She has her own office. She has multiple screens. When she's in there, she's locked in. She doesn't have the kids bothering her. She goes, I am not productive at home.
yeah, we have to shift that conversation away from I feel more productive to I'm measurably more productive. And where
For
is
X,
that
Y, and
location?
Z reasons.
If you want to be successful, where is it that we're most successful?
So speaking of success, you really paved the way, and I've been following you for a long time in the space of creating your own brand, right?
Yeah.
Like you are a brand, you are a speaker, and there's a bunch of us in here that are following that model. Like, what are some of the Tim Sackett keys to being a successful HRTA influencer?
So when I first started writing and blogging, I was the every Friday guy on a multi-person blog, right? And it was once a week. And then the guy, Chris Dunn, who's now the global head of TA at Marriott,
I know Chris.
But Chris was like, hey, you need to write your own blog. You need to write every day. And he goes, challenge yourself, write every day for 1 year. That was like 15
Every day
years
for
ago.
1 year.
For 1 year. Just challenge yourself. I've been writing every day for over a decade.
But you put in
part
the
of
reps.
Part of it's machine, right? It's the consistency of showing up every day. Some of the stuff you write is crap. Some of it's really, really good. A lot of it is just ship it. It is what it is, right? The crazy part for me is,
muscle memory.
Part of it for me is like sometimes I write something and I'm like, oh my god, this is my opus. This is the best thing I've written. And you throw it out to the world and nothing happens. And then you write something and it literally goes viral and takes off. And you're like, really? That is the thing.
I mean, you talk about that like on LinkedIn. Like I did a screen grab of something. I posted it, and it took me. I wrote it last night, literally as I'm lying in bed.
Yeah.
It took me maybe 38 seconds to write it, versus something that I worked on. You know what?
Yeah.
Just ship it.
Yeah.
Just ship it.
Totally
Especially in
that
social
way.
media. Like as long as it's factual, as long as it's on brand, as long as it's what you want to say, don't overthink it. Like I was coaching a lady I'm working with from a branding perspective, and she was writing an article for her LinkedIn newsletter, and she goes, Adam, I spent 12 hours working on this. Like what the? I go 12 hours versus taking away from your recruiting business, taking away from. I'm like, what are you doing?
You can't be that. You can't.
And I read it. I'm like, it's good, but not 12 hours good. I expected a lot better.
I don't
12 hours.
I was never a writer. I don't think I'm a great writer. Some of it's like, and now I think I'm way better than I was when I go back and look.
Worked on it.
But I write like I speak, so I write in a natural voice. And I also just had this skill that I never knew I had. Like you could give me a topic, and in 15 minutes I could give you 700, 800 words.
Yeah,
Bam,
that's pretty good.
Go, let's do it.
But most
people can't do that.
But you
it turns
also
into homework for them.
But because of where you are in this industry and what you hear, you also are a sponge. And like me, like I walk around here and I'm hearing conversations, and I'm like, I agree with some of those points. I'm gonna wordsmith that a little bit too, and you put your own spin on. What's scaring you in the industry, man? Aside, let's put AI aside.
Yeah.
What's is it offshoring? Is it untrained recruiters? Are we moving away from the art and like true recruiting? Like, is it becoming so transactional?
You know the scariest thing.
So many new recruiter businesses. There's a lot going on.
The scariest thing I have is it's this disconnect between how we measure success in recruiting to like how I would say like the head of like our CEO. So like I get to meet with a lot of these like heads of HR, heads of TA, and when I bring the CEO in, they'll go like, oh hey, we've actually paid out full bonus in our TA team for 4 years in a row. Mm-hmm. And then like we talk to the CEO and he's like, our recruiting sucks, we're failing. And I'm like, so what? Like, but they're measuring themselves on like time to fill. Like we've reduced our time to fill from 37 days to 36.9. Everybody gets a bonus, and you're like, but obviously you're not successful, and that is not a success measure. How can we actually measure success? And there's a huge disconnect today still, like very few. Almost every CEO I talk about believes either their recruiting sucks or it should be better. And it's not delivering the talent that they believe that we should be delivering. And then you go to like the head of TA and they're just like, or the head of HR. One of it, like we have too many like people running recruiting that don't like recruiting. So many people I'm an HR person, and I can't tell you how many times I had that conversation.
And their responsibility is talent.
But I have recruiting. But
they're two different disciplines. I thought we moved away from that. I thought we moved away from separating church and state.
No.
HR is not TA people.
Yeah.
It is not. It is
Unfortunately,
not.
No. And they don't understand it, and they don't understand the technology, and they don't really have any desire to because they don't like it.
And I think that comes down from leadership too and accountability. And I think that leadership has to take ownership of the TA process.
Yeah.
The C-suite needs to be the biggest ambassadors. They need to empower the recruiting team to be their best. They need to understand that attrition happens when you don't empower your TA team.
Yeah.
If you're not giving them the tools they need, the resources, if you're not creating a good company people want to work,
I think a great TA leader actually has become better at the business of going and telling the CIO, the CFO, the CEO, here's exactly what I need and why. Right now, they come to us and go, hey, fourth quarter, we need to increase our hiring by 25%. And they're like, okay, we'll work harder. Working harder isn't a strategy. You have to go do it.
If your magnet's not working.
We're at 95% capacity, and we actually have to, here's what we need to actually meet the goal of that, right? I need more recruiters. I need more.
It's partnership.
But we can't even say that with data because we're not measuring the capacity. We're not measuring the funnel. And so often when I say, why aren't you measuring the funnel of your recruiters? They go, well, that seems like micromanaging. And I'm like, no. That's the only way you make them successful, by giving them all the resources they need. And you can't tell the CFO, I need more, if you don't give them the data of what's going on.
Well, I mean, again, it goes back to what you said earlier. It starts at the top. It starts with leadership, understanding what the recruiters need to be successful. And from a 30,000-foot view, it's creating a company that people want to work for.
Yeah.
And recruiting's part of that. You're bringing in the new lifeblood. And also managing. What's your take on empowering, like an amazing product like Erin, empowering employee-based referrals, empowering your team? There's pros and cons to that, to be talent advocates. What's your take?
What I like about employee referrals is we've gotten around, like the culture became a bad word kind of thing. Like, oh, are they a fit for our culture?
I hate the F word.
That's a real thing. And I think employee referrals, they know what the culture is. They know what someone has to go through,
Right.
good, bad, ugly. When they bring somebody in, they go, hey, this person I think has the skills, but what I do know is that they're going to survive in our culture. And that's super important.
Yeah.
And we miss that so often.
Yeah, but you also want to avoid bias and like bias, and I want more people that look and sound exactly like me.
You have to separate. What we did was we put bias and culture together. I think, yes, we have to be worried about that. But
Right.
I wanted an inclusive team that all believe in the same thing that I believe in from a vision standpoint, whether they're male, female, non-binary, black, white, purple.
Whatever.
I
As
don't
long
care.
as they're going to succeed in this,
Yeah.
let's boil it down to, are they going to be successful by their character,
Yes.
skills, and traits? So we're coming to the end. I mean, Tim and I could talk for hours. We have a full lineup coming up today as we wrap up day 2. But Tim has a couple of books out. You can check out his Shurm books, right? We have the Talent Fix, a leader's guide to recruiting great talent. You can check it out probably on Amazon, the Shurm store. And he writes for his blog project, and over at, what's Fistful of Talent?
Fistful of Talent's like the multi-contributor blog. It's actually not going right now, but it has in the past. So there's a lot of content out there, like
Right.
evergreen, right?
You got a podcast, HR Famous?
HR Famous is coming back in the fall.
It's been on hiatus.
It's been on hiatus. It was a COVID one, right? We actually did it when, like you said, we had a bunch of people sitting at home and we were like, hey, we got capacity. Let's start talking, having conversations, talking shop like we are.
I got so many great guests that I probably wouldn't have gotten during the pandemic.
It's so amazing.
And it helped me. I got so many great A-list guests, like some big names. And like, why?
Oh, yeah.
Because I go anywhere.
Obama, Will Smith was a great one you did.
Wilhelm Schmidt, yes, he was great.
Wisdom is forever, but for us, it's time to go. Thank you for joining us. Luckily, we'll be back with our next episode soon, jam-packed with more incredible humans. Thank you for listening, subscribing, and sharing. To join the conversation, search the podcast on LinkedIn. And to catch up on past episodes and more info, please visit www.thepodcast.com.